moe slice of life genre is overlooked by many as just an empty medium which its only appeal is some cute girls and lovable characters, which all lack any sort of depth. Now, this may be true for a lot of cases, and for losers like me and many others, we're perfectly content by this. But now and again, a show crops up, sometimes an interesting setting, sometimes an interesting premise, and sometimes heavily implied Yuri undertones. And Hanayamata is one of these shows, which at surface level just seems like some cute girls dancing. But the themes Hanayamata presents, and what the show achieves in its conclusive 12 episodes, is why I'm reviewing it today. Hanayamata at its core is simple, and not in a negative way. Your average middle school girl, Naru, lives a normal life where she is normal at everything, something many people relate to, till one day she meets an eccentric and outgoing foreign girl called Hana, and other than them forming a dance group and then eventually dancing, that's about it. And do you know what? Some people were put off by this. People who wanted more maybe? Well, I'm here to tell you Hanayamata had more, much more. Some people swiftly turned away. They missed the moment where the show engulfs you into all it has to offer, and that is of course its more serious undertones, with actual mature themes of growing up, losing friends, and failing at what we try hardest to do. Even tropes where you'd normally expect them to succeed and prosper, like all trying hard for their test, ultimately fails and they don't get any reward. They get nothing but empty failure. And this is just one spoilerless example of what the show puts forth to us. The drama in this show is what propels it from being mediocre to brilliant, and how they play this out without it being too melodramatic is what it truly excels at. Naru is normal. That's all she has to offer at surface level. A normal girl who is just average at every aspect of her childhood life. But one thing she has are dreams, and that is her best aspect of all. As a child, she's always just read fairy tales, her head just in the clouds. Not in a ditzy kind of way, but in one way she could never see herself growing up. She dreams not just of fairies, but of achievement, success, and something worth living for. This then leads her to become arguably one of the most developed and most impactful characters of all. The other main character we have, though, is the adorable and idolized character that is Hana. First described by Naru as a fairy, and more importantly, a heroine, something she thought she could never be. She was seen by Naru as a girl with a goal, something she could only dream of. Hana's goal was to dance Yozakoi with a group of friends, and this is where the story truly begins to come together. Hana and Naru become close friends, with some undertones of Yuri of course, but once they get closer, we learn more about Hana, her past, her family problems, and why she is this eccentric foreign girl we always see her as. But Hana isn't the only idolized character. Yaya is Naru's best friend since they were little. She understands Naru, but being the outgoing character she is, she distances herself from Naru. Not only does she get good grades, is good looking, and even won a literature competition, but she has her own band. However, her list of diverse achievements makes her one of the most dramatic and heart-wrenching when it comes to the show's themes of failure. Tammy comes from a wealthy family and has a plethora of activities she's adept in, as well as being the student vice president. This means she has very little time for friends as her activities take priority. This also easily makes her another object of Naru's admiration. Though her problems are overcome quite quickly in the story compared to other characters, she is undoubtedly developed just as much. Machi is our last main girl. She is the student council president, and idol not just to Naru but the entirety of the middle school. She is a strong and serious character, but still has her own fair share of problems. This is rooted deeply from childhood, from her cystic problems, which we discover as a main cause to her abrasive nature. The other characters are also crucial to the execution of the show. Unlike many cute slice of life, we get a real look at the parents and how they've influenced their children, as well as other influences like their teacher and coach, and even the Yozakoi shop owner, who looks scarily like a member of the Yakuza. Overall, these characters are what makes the show as good as it is. The messages that Hanayamata tries to put forward are extremely dependent on one thing though, the atmosphere it creates. And though it started a little bit weird with the same video effect that I use in my videos, Studio Madhouse were in the perfect playground for this show. The bright, vibrant colours that existed in No Game No Life made prior to this worked perfectly, as our director had learned to properly refine the art style and the glow to not be too blinding but actually look really nice. And the art is used for effect in many cases, as as I've said earlier about Naru idolizing everyone, this is shown in very subtle ways through the directing. Some characters are shown brighter, whereas Naru is shown as dull. This is very obvious at the end, where Naru finally shines. Though the animation itself wasn't as fluid as it could have been, especially in the dance practice scenes, they did have some very nice scenes when it truly counted, even if it was reused animation from the opening. And while on the topic of that, yes, the same song as the opening was repeated multiple times, but for me it had a fantastic effect. The song they sung was what they had practiced, and the fact that the opening song is actually sung by all the voice actors just makes this fantastic. So even though playing the opening at climactic scenes is a cliche, when it's done right it can create a great atmosphere. And the opening wasn't the only music that stood out to me either. The background music was very mellow and soothing, which contrasted perfectly to how insert songs were very quick, upbeat, and especially the ones played by Yaya's band. However, this atmosphere isn't always perfect, as one of the show's major flaws is unfortunately a common aspect in anime, and nearly always is a hit or a miss. And in this case, it just doesn't work well with this show. You know the trope where a character suddenly turns into a chibi form and does something silly? This is normally fine for me, but in some really dramatic scenes, such as a favourite of mine when Hana and Naru meet, the tone quickly changes for a couple of seconds as Naru turns chibi on us. It's rather irritating, as it goes really quickly back to the mellow tone, and this juxtaposition just really doesn't work for me. However, this didn't hinder the momentum of my enjoyment too much, and even after over a month now since it has ended and I have finished my first rewatch, I can safely say Hanayamata is up there as one of the best slice of life dramas. For similar shows, I'd recommend Sakurazo for a show with a more serious theme of failure in a light-hearted setting, and as a fun fact, it's also made by the same director. Another recommendation is Tari Tari, which is another show centered around a group of girls as they go through change in high school with a semi-serious music theme, which is also very cute and slice of lifey. Overall, when it comes to Hanayamata, the development of the characters is what the show is truly following, not the girls dancing, which, though enjoyable, is not what the show's about. It's the relationship that they have gained from dancing together. They have to learn lessons that everyone is unique, everyone fails in life, and everyone can be dazzling.